Hello there, Commonwealth from history in the making. The numbers are now in, and it is beyond anything we could have expected. As according to Nintendo themselves, they have sold over 3.5 million units of Nintendo Switch 2 and, of course, combining with the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart World Bundle in the first 4 days. Their strategy has paid off 100%. So here's the official statement from Nintendo Company Limited in Kyoto. President Shuntaro Furukawa, Nintendo hereafter, announced that its new game system, Nintendo Switch 2, sold over 3.5 million units worldwide in the 4 days following its release on June 5th, 2025. This is the highest global sales level for any Nintendo hardware within the first 4 days. To put that into perspective, in their history, over 40 years of making hardware systems. It's global. It's not just Japan, where we don't have full numbers yet, but it's also record-breaking in European markets. In Spain, for example, it has destroyed any other video game system. Switch 2, 108,000 systems sold already. This for one single country. The closest competitor before that was the PSP at 54,000 and PS5 at 48,000. The same story is found in the United Kingdom, where over 160,000 Nintendo Switch 2s were sold in the first 4 days. But still, in Europe, nothing is bigger, at least when it comes to official information, when it comes to the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 than France, where the Nintendo Switch 2 has already sold 200,000 units. The previous record was the PS5 at 107,000 units. That's almost double the amount of PS5 at launch. It just speaks of the power of Mario Kart World, and where also GeoGV France points out that the attach rate of Mario Kart World was 95%. It makes sense. You save $30 or even more in Europe when you buy the Mario Kart World Bundle. It was a strike of genius by Nintendo. Globally, the Nintendo Switch 2 has now outsold the Steam Deck. The one that everyone was saying, oh, don't buy a Nintendo Switch 2, buy a Steam Deck. Yeah, you can now guess which system is going to have a bigger impact. It's outsold the PS5 at launch. It's outsold even the PS2. It's on a record-breaking path. And all of this is thanks to providing the great Switch experience, but bigger, better, and more powerful. Plus, Mario Kart World as launch title, along with upgrades for some other of the best-selling games, that being Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, plus Pokemon updates, and you have the recipe for success. It's as simple as that. And if that wasn't enough, Splatoon celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. And on June 10th was the 11th anniversary of the first reveal or announcement of the franchise in the Nintendo Digital event of 2014. As a result, we shouldn't be surprised that we got a lot of Splatoon news on this day. Specifically, Splatoon Raiders, which is the first full-on single-player experience, an action-adventure game in the Splatoon franchise, which is in many ways Nintendo's aim to turn Splatoon into more than just a multiplayer online shooter franchise, where the single-player campaign are more of a side note, or side order if you want to. But Splatoon Raiders is something different. It is a spin-off, but it is a spin-off that aims to create a single-player franchise out of Splatoon, and giving it more of a longevity or multi-genre feature like we have seen already with Mario, like Mario Kart, Kirby with Kirby and Kirby Air Riders, and Zelda and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Of course, I would have preferred it to be called Zelda Warriors, but that is beyond the point. The thing is, Splatoon is massive in Japan, and if this single-player experience will be successful, especially in the home market of Japan, when they were not ready to still bring Splatoon 4, which is probably later down the line. But yes, still no release date. We have deep cut in this game. I have a feeling that this reveal was made on purpose with as little information as possible so that they can share more in a future Nintendo Direct, which will include more about the gameplay and more about the release window. Stealth, for instance, is pointing to that this might be a late 2025 or early 2026 game, and I do agree about this. It's all about balancing, the biggest games for Japan, like Pokemon, Splatoon, of course at launch Mario Kart. But that wasn't all that we got in this announcement, because on the day after this upload, or if you're watching it already, it's probably out, Splatoon 3 is getting a Switch 2 upgrade with better visuals, better frame rate, continued cross-platform play with Switch 1, 30 new weapon kits, Urchin Underpass is back, well, that's a big one, and also new stat tracking options. It is a massive, and I mean a massive announcement from the Splatoon team, which we have to remember, this is a Nintendo developed games, unlike the spin-off games that we have seen announced prior for the Nintendo Switch 2. That being Kirby Air Riders, which is not developed by High Laboratory but Sora Limited, Sakurai himself, and of course Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is developed by Koei Tecmo. Speaking of Koei Tecmo, they actually came out with a statement, on that being specifically producer Takuto Adagawa, stating, quote, "There are a lot of characteristics when it comes to raw computing power, so it's difficult to generalize, but I think it can be thought as closer to the Series S." This is important because we know the Warriors games have been a problem on the Nintendo Switch, especially when it comes to frame rate. Well, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment has already been confirmed to be 60 frames per second, just like we see in the case of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions. It promises a lot for solid, not only Nintendo games experiences, but also third-party support. And speaking of third-party support, the Call of Duty team has stated recently that we're committed to getting the franchise back on the Switch and Switch 2. Both teams are working on it, we will share details when ready. I can't think of a more fitting place than a Nintendo Direct to announce this. The same goes for Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, where during the Xbox showcase this prior weekend, it was announced that that version of the game is also coming to Xbox, and it's coming out this winter. So that could be an indication of when we'll be getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate as well. Possibly could be December, or at the same time as Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. One game that has not been confirmed yet is Pokemon's Game Freak, and their more realistically looking new IP, that being Beast of Reincarnation. It's coming to Xbox, it's coming to Steam, and it's coming to PS5. Nothing on Nintendo Switch 2 yet. Hopefully, a Nintendo Direct can change that. But yeah, frame rates and power could be an issue, but then again, it is on Xbox Series S as well. And Beast of Incarnation is just proof that Gen 10 can look much better than Pokemon Legends ZA, and of course Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, despite that getting, of course, a massive boost as well on the Nintendo Switch 2. But yes, it shows the potential of this developer, and I really hope that we can get something in between this and the current Pokemon for the 10th generation of Pokemon, just so we can bring it to the next generation and make it a worthy Nintendo Switch 2 inclusion. More game news, this time indie. Hollow Knight Silksong has been announced by Team Cherry to be released before the holiday season, and we know that this will be a multi-platform launch, meaning that we can also expect Hollow Knight Silksong on the Nintendo Switch 2 and also Nintendo Switch before the holiday season. Another strange thing that happened in the Xbox showcase was that Final Fantasy XVI suddenly became available on the Xbox Series X, Xbox PC, and Xbox Cloud. We know that Square Enix has told numerous times that they're done with exclusivity. I think this is also coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. For a good reason. People in Japan especially don't own Xbox, but they will own Nintendo Switch 2s. So I really think it's just a matter of time before this gets announced as well. And since we're on the topic of racing, Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is doing the one thing that Mario Kart World is not doing. Inviting characters from other franchises outside of the Sonic universe. And what's more, it's going to be free post-launch racers. Hatsune Miku, Joker from Persona 5, and Ichiban Kasuga from the Yakuza franchise. But then we also have already announced Steve from Minecraft. There's a reason why it's called Crossworlds, and hopefully the DLC of Mario Kart World will be doing something as well. The game is coming out to both the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2 on September 25th. And in final Nintendo Switch 2 news, of course we have to talk about Mario Kart World, but the reason to buy the bundle was also so you got the digital code, because the loading speed, especially into the starting screen, is substantial. If you load it straight to the internal memory storage, which you likely did with the provided code for Nintendo Switch 2, it only takes 16.6 seconds. On an Express card, SD Express card, it takes 19.78 seconds, 3 seconds longer. And loading it directly from the card, so not downloading at all, 24.75 seconds. That's over 8 seconds slower than loading straight from the internal memory storage. I'm definitely glad I have it on the internal memory storage. But that is all news that we have for now. I hope you enjoyed it, so if you haven't already, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell, and for all notifications to not miss any upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 videos. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching until the end, and to all our patreon.com/comearound patrons, and in particular, raw producer JC Funk, and heroes Cheryl, Garrett Roy, Holly Wolf, and Kintaro. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.